We all know the famous mysteries and urban legends such as Mothman, the Jersey Devil, D.B. Cooper, and so on. However, there are those that are not well known, but are just as chilling and mysterious. This is 10 real mysteries you may have never known. Number 1. The Catman of Greenock. Legend tells of a man with skin covered in some sort of paint as black as coal, who eats with his bare hands and moves around on all fours. He was first reported in the 1970s. Only appearing during the night, he hides in bushes and under cars and buses. It has been reported that he has red glowing eyes that stare back from the pitch darkness. According to local legend, it says that he was a Russian sailor who abandoned his ship that was docked in the harbor due to poor mental health and fighting with other crew members. Stranded, the local sailor began begging on the streets before being attacked by local bandits who broke his legs and jaw, leaving him unable to walk and struggling to talk. Reports say that he resisted medical treatment or being taken to any kind of shelter, preferring to crawl on his stomach for mobility. He earned the nickname Catman due to the rumors that he lived with a group of wild cats and was caring for them. The area where most sightings have been made is in the east end of Greenock, near Scotson Lane. This is the area where the first videos and photos were taken in 2007. They show a man with skin covered in what appears to be motor oil lying prone on the ground with a dead rat in his mouth. Some locals believe these images could be of a copycat, no pun intended, and that the real Catman died long ago. Despite being reported to authorities, the local council were never able to find anyone who matched the description in the area and denied that anyone like that has ever lived in the town. Sightings have become rarer over the years, with no new footage or images surfacing since 2015. Number 2. The Devil's Footprints. On the night of February the 8th, 1855, after a heavy snowfall, a series of hoof-like marks appeared in the snow. These footprints, most of which measured about 4 inches long, were reported from more than 30 locations around Exe Estuary, in the East and South Devon, England. The hoof-like marks seemed to have appeared overnight, covering total distance of some 40 to 100 miles. Houses, rivers, haystacks, and other obstacles were traveled straight over. Footprints appeared on the tops of snow-covered roofs and high walls, which lay in their path. Due to this, the theory that they were made by an animal was ruled out, and the phenomenon was called the Devil's Footprints. Superstitious people went as far as to believe that they were the marks of Satan himself. There was little evidence of the phenomenon, but in 1950, a request for further evidence if the phenomenon ever happened resulted in the discovery of a collection of papers which included letters from witnesses who saw the footprints and sent them to the local newspaper in the 1850s. And even articles for newspapers during that time marked with quote-unquote "not for publication." Reports of similar phenomenon exist from other parts of the world, although none are of such scale. Number 3. Poe's Grave Visitor. Poe's Grave Visitor is the nickname used to refer to an unidentified person who, for several decades, paid an annual tribute to the American author Edgar Allan Poe by visiting the cenotaph marking his original grave in Baltimore, Maryland, in the early hours of January 19, which is Poe's birthday. Edgar Allan Poe died at the age of 40 in Baltimore on October 7, 1849, under mysterious circumstances. According to witnesses, the tradition may have begun as early as the 1930s and continued annually until 2009. Each year, in the early mornings of January 19, the mysterious person dressed in black, carrying a silver-tipped cane, his face obscured by a scarf or hood, enters the Westminster Hall and Burying Ground in Baltimore and visits the site of Poe's original grave. He would pour a glass of Martell cognac and raise a toast. He then arranges 3 red roses on the monument in a distinctive pattern and departs, leaving the unfinished bottle of cognac. On several occasions, the mysterious person left a note with the roses and cognac. Some notes were simple expressions of devotion, such as, "Edgar, I haven't forgotten you." In 1993, a cryptic message stated, "The torch will be passed." In 1999, a note announced that the original visitor has died, and tradition was passed to another. Eyewitnesses have noticed that after 1998, the visitor appeared to be a younger individual. In 2006, a group of onlookers unsuccessfully attempted to detain the visitor as he was leaving the burial ground. Aside from that incident, spectators never interfered with the visitor's entry, tribute, ritual, or departure. In 2010, the visitor did not show up, neither in 2011 nor 2012, and still has yet to visit the site to this day. Number 4. The Voynich Manuscript. Named after the Polish-American antiquarian bookseller Wilfred Voynich, who acquired it in 1912, the manuscript is a detailed 240-page book written in a language or script that is completely unknown. Its pages are also filled with colorful drawings of strange diagrams, odd events, and plants that do not seem to match any known species, adding to the intrigue of the document and the difficulty of deciphering it. The original author remains unknown, but analysis revealed that its pages were made sometime between 1404 and 1438. Theories about the origin and nature of the manuscript vary from being a pharmacopoeia of medieval or early modern medicine to even a book of lost knowledge and cures we are yet to discover in modern days. One thing most theorists agree on is that the book is unlikely to be a hoax, given the amount of time, money, and detail that would have been required to make it. Number 5. Stephen Kubacki's disappearance. In 1978, Stephen, a student at the time learning German, went missing in the Michigan Triangle, which spans from Manitowoc, Wisconsin to Ludington, Michigan, and south to Benton Harbor. The triangle has accounted for numerous mysterious events, beginning in 1891. Stephen Kubacki went skiing in the area and later was reported missing. After he went missing, search teams scouted the area he was known to frequent. They found his skis and his poles on the beach of Lake Michigan, and footprints on the ice leading up to the lake. It was reported that his footprints appeared to stop at the edge of the ice. The ice was unbroken, and a search of the area revealed no clues as to what had become of Stephen. Later that day, a single clue was found. They found his backpack in the same general area as his skis. No other evidence or sign of Stephen could be found. It appeared as if he had just vanished into thin air. 15 months later, Stephen woke up in Pittsfield, 40 miles from his father's house and 700 miles away from the area where he disappeared. He was wearing clothes that did not belong to him and had a small satchel with him that was also not his. Stephen was very surprised to learn that he was missing for 15 months and told reporters that he will not give any interviews because he has nothing to say since he doesn't remember what happened to him during the time he was missing. Stephen did not have any history with mental illness and even got a master's degree in linguistics and a PhD in clinical psychology in 1983. If you liked the videos so far, please consider hitting the thumbs up button and subscribing to the channel for more videos like this. Number 6. The Big Gray Man. Also known in Scottish native language as Am Fear Liath Mor, the Big Grey Man is a human-like giant creature said to haunt the summit of Ben Macdui, Scotland. In 1925, a professor and hiker gave the first documented account of an encounter with the mysterious giant figure. I was returning from the cairn on the summit in a mist when I began to think that I heard something else than merely the noise of my own footsteps. Every few steps I took, I heard a crunch, and then another crunch, as if someone was walking after me, but taking steps 3 or 4 times the length of my own. I said to myself, this is all nonsense. I listened and heard it again, but couldn't see nothing in the mist. As I walked on, and the eerie crunch sounded behind me, I was seized with terror and took to my heels, staggering blindly among the boulders for 4 or 5 miles, nearly down to Rothimarcus Forest. Whatever you make of it, I do not know. But there is something very queer about the top of Ben Macdui, and I will not go back there again. This eyewitness account was reported in the local press, which started a debate between skeptics and believers. Other climbers came forward with their own encounters, which they had previously been afraid to share. Those who have seen the Big Grey Man describe it as an extremely tall figure, over 10 feet, and human-like, with broad shoulders and long arms. Nearly all reports of sightings include the sound of gravel crunching beneath the footfalls. In 1958, naturalist and mountaineer published an article for a magazine about an encounter with the Grey Man in 1943. I spent a 10-day leave climbing alone in the Cairngorms. One afternoon, just as I reached the summit cairn of Ben Macdui, mist swirled across the Lairig Grew and enveloped the mountain. The atmosphere became dark and oppressive. A fierce, bitter wind whisked among the boulders, and an odd sound echoed through the mist. A loud footstep, it seemed. Then another, and another. A strange shape loomed up, receded, came charging at me. Without hesitation, I whipped out the revolver and fired 3 times at the figure. When it still came on, I turned and hurried down the path, reaching Glenderry in a time that I have never bettered. You may ask, was it really the Fear Liath Mor? Frankly, I think it was. No photographs of the Big Grey Man have ever been taken. Number 7. The Ghosts of Flight 401. In December of 1972, Flight 401, named N310EA, departed from New York to Miami, Florida. When preparing to land, there were problems with the landing gear. The crew noticed that not all of the wheel indicator lights had turned green. Upon checking if the landing gear was working properly, the pilots failed to notice that the autopilot had disengaged, and they were now slowly descending towards the Florida Everglades. The pilots failed to monitor the altitude as they were distracted with the problem of the landing gear, the plane continuing its slow descent. It slammed into the swamp just outside of Miami, killing many passengers and pilots. Reports later revealed that the crash was due to pilot error. It was discovered that the landing gear was working properly, and it was the indicator lights that was faulty. Although the majority of the plane was destroyed, certain parts were salvageable and were used as parts for constructions of other planes. One such plane was aircraft N318EA. As months passed by, strange things began to occur on the aircraft. Apparitions of the deceased pilots were sighted on the plane, and some witnesses would even engage in conversations with them before the realization that the pilots they are talking with are no longer among the living. The ghosts would usually vanish the moment they were assured that the plane is safe for takeoff. It would happen so often that it became a tradition for crew members and pre-check engineers to say the words, "Don't worry, the plane is safe," to calm the haunting spirits. In one instance, a captain encountered one of the dead pilot's ghost staring at him before saying the words, "There will never be another crash on this plane. We will not let it happen." Another instance, a stewardess was warned about a fire on the plane by the ghostly apparition. A fire did start on the plane, but crew members managed to quickly put it out. Many paranormal investigation teams asked permission from the aviation company to investigate the hauntings, but they were always denied. Later years, the parts from Flight 401 were removed from the other planes, and the ghosts of the two pilots never showed up again. Number 8. Emilie Sagee's Doppelganger. Emilie Sagee was a French school teacher who changed jobs 19 times in 16 years, in the 1800s. She was actually a good and kind teacher, but was often the center of some very frightening phenomenon, which caused her to often be let go of her job. Emilie was often seen by students and other teachers having a follower near her who looked exactly like her, mimicking her movements while having no expression on her face. Sometimes, Emilie would be seen at one part of the school while her doppelganger was seen on another. The bizarre copy of Emilie would never speak and would always ignore people around, aimlessly roaming around and sometimes not even walking but just moving while being still. Whenever the doppelganger is near Emilie and not mimicking her movement, even stranger happenings would occur, such as Emilie starting to look more tired and even visibly starting to lose weight while her frightening copy is staring at her. Emilie, however, was never aware nor has seen her doppelganger, even if it was standing right next to her. Due to Emilie often changing jobs, she would often change her living location, and it is believed that one day her doppelganger lost sight of her due to another location change, and the doppelganger was never seen again. However, the person who claimed to have experienced an encounter with Emilie Sagee's frightening phenomenon and wrote about it was taken to a mental institution years later, making the story questionable if it was ever true. Number 9. Somerton Man. On the 1st of December 1948, on the beach at Somerton Park in Adelaide, South Australia, the dead body of an unidentified man has been discovered. The man was around the age of 42, and the police could not identify him. A scrap of paper was found in his pockets with the phrase "Taman shud," which is Persian for "is over" or "is finished." Later, it was found that the scrap had been torn from a book page. The book was located by the police, and in the pages, detectives found a handwritten phone number, another unidentified number, and a text that resembled a coded message. The code was never deciphered. The cause of death was speculated to be due to poison, but it was never confirmed. Witnesses came forward and claimed that the night before the discovery of the body, they saw a well-dressed man carrying another man on his shoulders at the same beach. To this day, the mystery remains unsolved. Many clues were found and leads were followed, but it was all met with dead ends. No one who was associated with the deceased man have been found. In the 1990s, new claims surfaced by people who said they knew the man, explaining that he was a spy working for an unknown organization. Several attempts have been made to identify the dead body, with the latest one being in 2022, where using modern science, the man was identified as Carl Charles Webb, an electrical engineer and instrument maker born in 1905. But it has yet to be confirmed by the police. Number 10. The Camera Shy Doll. Located in Key West, Florida, a number of spooky sightings and weird sensations have been witnessed in the Audubon House, which was the home of Captain Jack Geiger, a well-known shipwrecker, and his 12 children more than 200 years ago. when a cholera epidemic was sweeping the town, many sick children were brought to the nursery in the house, where they would spend their last days in the oppressive room. Many children died there, including one of the captain's daughters, Hannah. The room itself took on a chilling aura of death. The house was opened as a museum in 1960, at which time a doll was placed in a toy pram in the corner of the faithfully recreated nursery. The doll belonged to Hannah, whose portrait was also in the museum. Hundreds of visitors and passersby have witnessed apparitions of children crying and playing in the nursery. The captain himself has been seen walking with his daughter Hannah in the gardens. Whenever visitors tried to take photos of the strange-looking doll, they all experienced problems with their cameras. Either pictures didn't come out at all, or black streaks appeared blocking the image. One instance talks about a photographer who was very determined to disprove the story of the shy doll and sell his evidence to the Discovery Channel documentary. He took some photos of the doll, but many of them failed to develop or had black streaks. However, one picture managed to develop. This is the photo, and it's the last taken photo of the doll. The black streak is visible on the left, and this is the only photo where the streak did not block the image of the doll. Intrigued by this phenomenon, the photographer decided to record it and make the documentary himself. However, the morning he was due to start filming, the crew and museum staff arrived at the house only to find out that the doll was gone. None of the alarms have been tripped. Nobody was in the house the night before. It appeared as if the doll just got up and left the house, never to be found again. There you have it. 10 real mysteries that you may have never known. Make sure to like this video and leave a comment. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more content.